So I'd like to welcome our very special guest today, Mr. Self-described smartest man in the world, Mr. Greg Proops. How are you today,
everybody.
Greg?
Hi, Aaron. Hi, Chris. Thanks for having me on Esoterica.
Oh, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you.
So the first question we're going to ask, we've kind of been hitting everyone up with because it's the thing that's on everyone's mind these days. How was life for you during pandemic 2020?
Well, I'm lucky because I have a home and a wife, and so I can kind of keep it together a little bit. I go out in the backyard and smoke weed in the afternoon and read detective novels. The mornings I spend rage tweeting and reading all the newspapers from around the world until I can't take it anymore. I've decided to never listen to 45 anymore unless it's on clips on Twitter because I can't stand to hear the Hawa go live. So that's how I'm holding it together. Like I say, I'm lucky in that respect because I have a crib, I have a wife, but and I have a podcast that I keep doing, so I have something to do. But I've lost my job, and probably for my guess is, the foreseeable future. So we were supposed to be in Greensburg, Pennsylvania tonight. I was thinking about going to see Steely Dan when they played the Hollywood Bowl in a couple of weeks, and that's not happening. No one who plays live has a gig anymore, and all the people that we depended on and surrounded us, the airline employees, the hotel employees, the people who worked at the theater, the people who clean the theater, the crew, it's endless. The people who run the theaters, people who run the nightclubs, all the servers. So that part's an overwhelming tragedy, I think, on top of course, all the, what do they say on Everything Must Go? On the last song, Everything Must Go, which is my favorite song on that album. Talk about your major pain and suffering.
Yeah.
What does he say? Let's light up all the luckies.
Yeah, right.
Digging in the afterglow, because we're going out of business. And everything must go. There's really a Steely Dan song for every occasion, including pandemics.
Yeah, they were ahead of the curve. And I was just listening to King of the World this morning, and thinking we're not far off from driving through the ruins of our own society.
I listened to that one the other day when you guys got in touch with me. And you know how you listen to a record for 40 years and you've not got the words right? Mm-hmm. I finally looked at the lyrics to King of the World because I thought I knew them. And he's saying smoking cobalt cigarettes because it's a post-apocalyptic nuclear world. Yeah. And I don't know what I thought he was saying for 40 years. Old gold, I think I thought he was saying. And I looked at the lyrics and I'm like, of course, he's smoking cobalt cigarettes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It took me 100 years to figure out the premise of the song because it starts with hello, one and all. And it's a very poppy tune. Although spooky, and the middle part's got that weird noise and all the voices going and everything. It has that weird gliding, synthesizer part and everything. That he's not talking to someone on a ham radio. He's the last person there.
Yeah, just kind of
in a nuclear waste, sending out a desperate message to the world. And I might live till Saturday, I believe. So it took me so long to figure out. I thought he was just inviting someone to go ride around in his car with him and listen to the radio and smoke cigarettes. And I was like, no, it's not really that happy.
It's a lot darker. Yeah, it's funny. I was just complaining to Aaron earlier. I've actually saw Steely Dan in concert, probably back in like 94 or 95. But I've managed to get through 47 years of my life with them just sort of background sound. And I actually sat down today, put my headphones on, listened to Countdown to Ecstasy, and what a fantastic album.
It's super eclectic. I think it's the least popular Steely Dan album. That's why I was so chuffed that you guys picked it.
That's actually exactly why I zeroed in on it.
Yeah. Full disclosure, you guys contacted me, and then I said, how about Steely Dan? And you went, how about Countdown to Ecstasy? And I thought, no one would pick that album. Everyone would pick Asia or, Royal Scam or whatever, or even the last, Gaucho, which is the album that Steely Dan, before they closed shop, was begging you to reconsider. Like to come back, it's not that bad, even though it has the most dreadful of all their songs, Hey 19, which was an enormous hit. But I really hate that song. But it also has Glamour Profession, which is another, well, like I said, there's one for every occasion. That is such a song about scoring coke at the Lakers. And it's like, and they keep saying illegal fun, because that's how Steely Dan puts it. They would never say do a line or anything like that. They would call it illegal fun, under the sun. This album's super eclectic and magnificent, and I think it suffered from that. When it came out, it got a bunch of shitty reviews, and then one guy said, I can't remember what magazine, Showbiz Kids is okay.
Yeah, right.
And I was just discussing it with my wife, how white people got away with saying fuck on the FM radio and AM radio when we were kids, and all through the world. Showbiz Kids was a song I heard as I don't know how old I was when the song came out, like 13. They were a little esoteric for me at 13. I mean, they were very much what you would call in those days, and when I was older, was REM and shit like that, college rock.
Oh God, I remember that term. Yeah.
Yeah, college rock, which meant you'd read a book and you thought you were a little more sophisticated than you were, and maybe you took sophomore French or something. And Steely Dan falls right into that category. They're throwing out so many references and literary allusions. Their name is a literary allusion. So when it first came out, I remember hearing Show Business Kids on the radio, which was a pretty big hit. It was in the top 100. And they go, making movies of themselves, they don't give a fuck about anybody. And they say it. And I remember being 13 going like, can you say this?
Oh my God.
And then later when The Who put out Who Are You, Roger Daltrey clearly screams, who the fuck are you? And I've never heard it bleeped. Well, I don't think it was legal to actually have that then, but they did it anyway.
It's funny because I'm thinking of Pink Floyd's Money, that they always censor bullshit, which is a lot milder.
Your deep ditty did bullshit. And yet, I heard every rap record I'd ever hear on the radio, or hip hop record, leaked everything, I guess it's because they're rich white guys that they got away with swearing on the radio.
Yeah, it was funny when I was reading up on this album. They mentioned it was like their least commercial successful. I don't know about other radio station markets around the country, but the classic rock station in Boston, my old school, like they play that song at least once a day.
Oh, they were FM hits, I think, but like there was no reeling in the ears, That was just a giant AM smash. Showbiz Kids might have been the only song that charted from the whole record. I don't know if there's any other hits. Mine was kind of close to a hit, but I don't know that it sold that much. So there's not that many songs. Yeah, not really. There's no, like even the album after this has, what's after this? Is Pretzel Logic after this or Camp Thrill? Not Camp Thrill, or Katie Line. Can't remember which one. Well, anyway, both of those albums had giant AM hits. Bad Sneakers was a giant hit, and Ricky Don't Lose That Number. At one point, I don't think the radio played any other song for about 2 years.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That one you can really OD on. Even though it has my favorite riff, because it starts with Horace Silver's Song from Your Father. We've changed albums here, I realize. This one's ambitious, Countdown, because it's got that bossa nova Latin thing going on your gold teeth, and then that really weird reference to, is it Catherine? How do you say her name? Sibelius?
Oh yeah.
They mention an opera singer named
yeah, Carolyn. Is it?
What song is that? Is that Gold Teeth?
I think that was Your Gold Teeth.
I do not remember.
There it is. Even Kathy Barbarian, I had to have it pull it up here, knows there's a roulade she can't sing. A roulade is a very specific type of classical vocalese, And Kathy Bavarian is this mezzo-soprano who was alive when the song came out. I assume she was chuffed by it. But it's the most obscure reference you could possibly make in the middle of the song.
Yeah.
And what do they say? Tobacco they grow in Peking. It's oblique. And what was it? Don't suck the end this time. No thanks, my friend. And that one is a song about a conniving woman. That it's in such a bizarre third person that it's almost impossible to discern that by their lyrics. What is it? Yeah, torture is the main attraction. Wow.
Yeah.
They were already snide and snotty on the first album, but then there was a couple of like hopeful songs on the first album, like "Turn That Heartbeat Over Again" and jazz like that. And this album is about the end of the world. There's a song about a horrible woman that's a conniving gold digger. There's a song about visiting a prostitute who has no interest in you. And then having your girlfriend turn you in college for dope. And then what's the other one? The Boston Rag, his best friend is Mr. fucking King of the Students and eats all the drugs in the playground and doesn't wake up for 2 days.
And there's disdain for LA.
Right? Oh, always.
Yeah.
That starts early, which is hilarious to me because there's literally how many groups are as successful as them with the least amount of effort? I mean, they made what? How many albums? 7 albums altogether, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
Donald made 4 or 5 extras, and Walter made, what, 2? And they had enormous success. They're both wildly wealthy. They had the meanest manager in the world, the Eagles manager, Irving Azoff. They didn't tour for what? Is there any other band that had that many hits that didn't tour for 20 years?
They're still going strong.
Yeah.
And they still are snotty about show business all the time, which I love.
Yeah. And it's an eclectic musical mix. Like the jazz and the rock together is not something you hear very often.
No, that's why as a 13-year-old, it was a little challenging for me. It took me till I got to be a little older, probably like high school, that I started to appreciate them more. And then I think the first album I bought on vinyl was Asia. But mind you, they were ubiquitous on the radio then, except for this album, which only had Shepard's Kids. It's not exactly a teeny bopper music, even though they were absolutely competing in the same field in those years as, Bo Donaldson and the Haywoods and Carole King and, Elton John and Paul McCartney and Stevie Wonder, everybody that had hits then. Steely Dan was certainly playing against them and evidently didn't seem to care. I mean, the other thing they had on their side was they made rock writers feel smart.
Yeah, I can see that.
So if a rock writer could decipher, who were all men, if a rock writer could decipher their impenetrable lyrics and pull something out of it, then they thought, I gotta say that this is good.
And it's funny. I thought it was interesting listening to it this morning that a lot of the tracks there's obviously disdain and anger towards certain things, but they don't come across as angry. It's almost more amused, I guess, at the situation. They got kind of a laid back approach to hating the world.
There's very little to no shouting, and there's never any power chords or any of that raw white guy rage, which is my least favorite type of music. I love the Ramones and AC/DC and More Than Life itself and Cheap Trick, but I've always hated all the kind of Black Flag, Broham groups where it was white guys with no shirt on, man-hugging each other and being angry at the world. I never understood it because what are you mad about? You're on top of the heat, baby. Hip-hop, I could understand what the frustration and anger might be because of the circumstances. So Steely Dan does very little of that. It's almost like they're just putting a book down and lighting up a cigarette and doing some coke and then singing a song about how shit everything is.
Yeah. And all of us can get into that.
Right.
Oh, no question. I mean, the fact that they wrote their own liner notes for Asia, which is something I didn't know till 100 years later, is hysterically funny. Because I had the album and I would play it over and over, and it's really hip. It's got Wayne Shorter on it. You know, like they always have groovy musicians, which they didn't list in those days. And then it sounds, one of the lines in the liner notes of Asia is, Steely Dan is a band that has arrived. And they wrote that and put it in their own album. And that's unbelievably funny. But it also proved, but just like now, people think that with the internet, there's a lot more truth and stuff, but it's turned out to be exactly the opposite. Yeah. But in those days, it was really difficult to check anything. You didn't know that Steely Dan wrote their own liner notes. The company, the ABC was just hip enough to let them do it. And like, okay, fuck it. They're huge. And by Asia, they were really huge with lots of hits, including disco dance hits and stuff. So. Mm-hmm. But you can sort of feel it building on this record. The first album's a bit earnest here and there, even though it's awfully snide. What did they say what's the giant hit from the first album? Do It Again.
Do It Again, yeah.
Yeah. The hangman isn't hanging, so they put you on the street. What is it? In the morning you go down for the man who stole your water. And I was trying to figure out when I was 12 and saw them on Bandstand what was going on. Because at that same time period, Bandstand was on every Saturday morning, right? And I remember seeing the Electric Light Orchestra do Johnny Be Good with violins and violas and stuff. And then Steely Dan comes on and does Do It Again. And you're like, I don't even know what's happening now. I'm 12. You know, my favorite reference is the Jackson 5, you know. I'm still watching cartoons, you know, and then I'm having to hear about the hangman isn't hanging, so they put you on the street, and you find yourself in Vegas with a handle in your hand, and you're like, I haven't really had these experiences yet.
Yeah, but I'm interested.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the truth is, they're not that much old. My God, sadly, I think they're only 7-8 years older than me. I don't even know how old Donald is. Walter wasn't very old at all.
Yeah, it looks like this, their second album came out in 73. I was born in 73, so.
Oh, there you are, see? I'm old. I was born in 59, so I didn't see them the first time they were touring, but I went to see them when they reassembled in, God, 94? When did they come back? 93, 94?
And that's probably, yeah, that must be when I saw them.
They didn't write an album either, if you remember. They just came back and played all their old songs.
Yeah.
And then they made a live album out of that album of their old songs, which has like green earrings on it and shit like that. I saw them at Wembley Arena, and I was living in London with my wife, and I took these two cats I was working with. We did a radio show on Radio 2 in those days. It was a big deal. Oops. God damn it. Can you see me?
We see your picture.
Where's it? There, come back soon.
There we go.
There you go.
There we go. Hi. And they were playing all their old songs, and it was Wembley holds about, I guess, 10, 15,000 people. And everyone had what they call in England a jumper, here a sweater, and was going like this, I remember, for the whole show. Just bobbing gently to all their music, right? And we went and got beers and shit, and then one of the cats I was with goes to the bathroom and comes back, and he goes, I just saw my ex-wife. And I go, that's the most Steely Dan thing that could ever happen at a Steely Dan.
At a Steely Dan concert.
Yeah.
Seeing your ex-wife. And I started riffing, I saw her at the Dan show, you know. Because on the later albums, how many songs are about not making it in the world and failed relationships? And, you know, as they got older, that certainly pressed on them a little more. There's what, Lunch with Gina and With Shame About Me and all those songs. But then I saw them again years later, 2006, down here in LA, and the whole crowd had silver hair, you know. And Donald Fagen comes out and goes, hey, kids. And then I saw him solo once, And it was right after he'd had a big solo album, maybe Morph the Cat. And here in LA at a really good venue, the Wilton. And Walter wasn't there, but who's that guitar player that looks like Stephen Colbert that toured with them for years? He was there. So it was, in essence, it was Steely Dan. He played a couple of solo songs. I thought he was going to do his whole solo work. And boom, 2 seconds in, it's Black Cow, and then every Steely Dan song. So that was the one I enjoyed the most, to be honest.
And this is an awful thing to say, but it's true.
When Walter did his number at the Steely Dan show in England, everyone got up and went to the bathroom.
Oh, that's going to hurt.
Yeah.
Walter couldn't sing very well. He was a superb player and an awesome lyricist, but yeah.
Didn't have the fight.
Yeah.
And I mean, Donald isn't like a singer. He has the thing he does,
Yeah.
Also, he hated performing for so long. I took a class in college with a rock critic from San Francisco named Joel Selman. And I'm not kidding, it was called Rock 1 and Rock 2. And Rock 1 was, from the beginning, jump music, gospel, rhythm and blues. Rock 2 was like sort of, this was in the late 70s. And someone I remember asking a question in class, how come Steely Dan doesn't tour? And Joel Selman went, pathological fear of performing.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that struck me when I was reading up about their second album, is they had to convince Dan to sing, because it sounded like he more had a fear of performing live. He just wasn't into that.
In the studio, he could control everything, and this was the album where they checked David Palmer out. I think David Palmer does some vocals on it, but it's all pretty obscure. But by the end of this album, he certainly wasn't in the band anymore, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And when you see the early video of them, it's odd because, you still think of Donald being the lead singer, even though they brought in this guy to be a lead singer for them. With his little voice. And they've got him on tambourine out in front, and they're trying to give it the old college try that we're like, going to perform, but they really couldn't be bothered very much. It's jeans and long sleeve t-shirts and, shades and cigarettes. They make no effort to put on a show or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's all supposed to just stand on the music or whatever. But then later in their 50s, when I saw them a couple times, I thought they were much more involved. And,
yeah.
Walter would play guitar solos and,
Yeah, I want to say one of the memories I have of seeing them around 94, 95, at that time, pot was still highly illegal in Massachusetts. And I think they were taking a break like mid-set, and they made a passing reference to people like, now's the time to go out and do your thing if you're going to do your thing.
Right.
Like, hey, these guys are cool. I know what they're talking about.
Yeah. Oh, they're definitely druggy.
Yeah.
Walter dangerously so. I don't know about Donald's predilections that much, but Walter, I think, was sort of missing in action for a lot of Gaucho. And Donald sort of made the record. And that, what did they call him? The studio people called him Mother, because he tinkered with the album for fucking ever and ever and ever and ever. And ever. And they were famous for, what was it, flying from LA to New York or New York to LA to get a certain hi-hat sound. They found that they couldn't get it on one coast, so they went to the other. Like, that was how crazy it got.
Gosh.
And I think their producer at that point, Gary Katz, who did the first bunch of albums with them, was just like them, man. Like completely anal and meticulous and loved jazz. I mean, that's the thing, is they talk about jazz a lot and they play a lot of jazzy riffs, but they're not really a jazz band. I think they both wanted to be jazz musicians, kind of. When they came back and did that, was it on VH1? They did that live show, and that's when they had their kind of band that they toured with for the last bunch of years with them, with the three great background singers and with the guy whose name I can't remember on guitar. I remember I was playing in Chicago at a comedy festival, and I had a night off, and someone called me and said, "Do you want to go to dinner?" And I went, "No, I'm going to watch the Steely Dan special in my room and get high." So I did, and it was Steely Dan presents a jazz rock concert.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, that's how they were doing it, because they were always mordant about themselves. Yeah, jazz rock.
Jazz rock, right?
Yeah,
rock with a splash of jazz.
I mean, I don't know if we're making a big case for them. if you, they get lumped in the yacht rock category because there's no rough edges. They just don't have any rough edges.
Yeah.
And I think they really tried to be get as close to perfection in the studio as they could. Like, these tracks are gone over. There's no, we did it in 2 takes. There's never that with them. Yeah. Sometimes it's like 40 takes of one riff, and then they'll pull that riff, and that's the one they use. I think musicians are often surprised when they heard what was on the album, that they've been called into play, to having had to play it for days and days, and then, oh, that's the part you used, And also, I think they brought in people and then didn't use what they recorded, They just, that guy wasn't right. Bring in someone else. Because Rick Derringer's on Show Business Kids, and Rick Derringer's a straight up rock and roll,
Yeah.
I saw him in high school too, and he's loud and not very subtle, and he's probably the loudest of all guitar players I've ever had on there. Because this is a little, chunky. On the first album, it's what, Elliot Randall on Real in the Years. And Jimmy Page said that was his favorite guitar solo of all time.
Well, that's a compliment you can take to the bank.
But it's pretty, that's also a song that starts with a guitar solo. They weren't bothered to start with the lyrics, always. Like, Your Gold Teeth takes a while to develop.
Yeah. That's what makes it cool.
And there's... Yes.
Yeah, the thought died on the mind. It's one of the things that a lot of times when we're talking about albums on our show is that finding that stuff where the artists are just genuine and earnest about what they're doing kind of makes something rise above the rest. Steely Dan, they're not following a formula. They're doing their own thing.
I think they're earnest about wanting to be detached and literary.
Yeah.
But as far as like honest emotions, every once in a while one comes through. Like what's the one? Any World That I'm Welcome To on Katie Lied. That one sort of, they're expressing a need to be somewhere and fit in that place, which is not their usual emotion. Their usual emotion is I hate you because you left and stuff. And then by Everything Must Go, it's basically like I've been through a couple of divorces and my mother's death album. And then half the songs are about being a single middle-aged guy and the other half are about how the world's going to end. And how you hate God. There's a hitman against God. That's my other favorite track on that album, Godwhacker. He's a hitman who's going to kill the Almighty because Donald's mother died right before they made the album and he was fucked off. And that's a pretty wild premise for a song.
Going after the big guy.
Yeah, that's
nice. Well, I've got you here. I would be remiss so you spent some time working on The Phantom Menace, and you've done Star Wars work. I have a theory about Star Wars that I've been pushing, and I'm not getting a lot of traction. So I'm going to run this by you. In The Phantom Menace, early on, Obi-Wan makes a passing reference to the Gungans about how they have a symbiotic relationship with the Naboo, and he says it like it's very important, but it's never elaborated on. And when you look at the Naboo, like Natalie Portman, she doesn't age at all throughout the series. I have a theory that the Naboo are using the female Gungans as wet nurses, and that's how they preserve their youth.
I don't remember the plot very well. I've only seen the movie once. It is, of course, my enduring legacy.
Those things are.
I know that Keira Knightley's one of her handmaidens. She's just a kid in it.
Yeah.
I couldn't even address what you're saying because I haven't the slightest notion of who the Gungus are or whatever.
Honestly, you're probably better off for that.
I haven't seen any of the new ones, the Force Awakens or Han Solo or there's one after the Force Awakens that I can't remember the name of. I didn't even see Revenge of the Sith, which is the third one of the trilogy that I'm in. The movie we made was in 96? I think it came out in 97. And that was the fourth one, right? But it was so long after the first three had come out.
Yeah, 16 years.
It was. I will tell you this, not being able to address your very immediate need to know about the lineage of the Goo Goos. When we made it, the world was a little more low tech. Telephones were pretty big still and heated up your fillings. And we recorded we shot it in Leavesden outside of London. Me and a buddy of mine named Scott Capro was the other pod racer announcer. And George directed us. I can call him George because I met him. And he was really nice and low key. And there was 150 people standing around the set easily. And he was acting like he was, in a sandbox. Didn't bother him. And I don't remember him saying action either. We just kind of did it over and over. But when we had to go back to do the final passes on the vocals and do the Foley work, I was called into a studio in London, a particular favorite of mine in Soho, and they had a phone and a cradle down the line to Mill Valley in California, where there was a guy listening. And we went in, and I went in by myself and did all my lines over. And after every pass, he would go, perfect, moving on, right? The guy on the Marin end would go, great, moving on. And finally I said, can I ask a question? And he went, yeah. I go, when does the picture open? And he goes, 10 days.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm telling you that the final pass I did was a week and a half before the movie was in the theaters. So that's how it ran. It was pretty wild. And then when we did the DVD, I was taken to Mexico, like a Steely Dan song. And we recorded in an empty office at the Fox Baja studio, which was an ad hoc 20th century thing that Cameron had built for Titanic. That's where they shot a bunch of Titanic. It was down in Baja California, in Mexico. So I was flown to San Diego, driven to Fox Baja. We went into this office room, and there was an Apple computer and a microphone. And we re-recorded for the DVD on that. Then we had tacos for lunch, and then I was driven back to San Diego and flown back to LA. And the plane was so small that we flew in. It was like a 10-seater. Because LA to San Diego is a short flight, I assure you. The pilot went, everybody ready?
Well, I can say if Star Wars is the thing that a lot of people pin you with, right? The first time I saw you was True Jackson VP. So.
Oh yeah, I quite enjoyed that. I
enjoyed watching.
Thank you. I'm still in contact with Ronnie and Ashley. We still communicate every once in a while. Shively and Robbie, I'll see. Kiki's out doing her own thing. Producer Andy contacted me the other day. So it was lovely. It was 2 years of playing for children. We recorded live, and we were the only sitcom on the lot. We were at Paramount. I was going to say down here, but that doesn't mean anything to you. But I live, driving distance to Paramount, and we recorded on Friday night. And there was bleachers full of children. And I think you were supposed to be over 5, but people just brought their whole family. So there'd be a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, people sleeping, kids on the floor, just kids everywhere. And because we recorded live, I felt like it was a liberating experience because kids don't bullshit you, you know? Like if you're in Hollywood or in show business and you do something and it's not very good, people go, great, really interesting work, you know? You know what I mean? They'll just lie.
Oh yeah.
They'll just lie directly to you and just so it'll keep going. But kids will go, this sucks. You'll hear them openly say, you know, I hate this. And if you're performing for them live and they have to sit through takes and stuff because they had to sit through takes, the best part for me was we would do a slapstick, right? Where there's lots of slapstick in the show. You know, we go to the room full up, we did the disco and we had a horse and, you know, I had a dialogue with a hamster and I got put in a lawn chair and flown in the air, and we would do jokes live, like come in and fall over or stuff or dance around madly. And you'd hear little kids, you could hear a 5-year-old go, oh my God, like that. And that would make me cry laughing because to them, the jokes we were doing were like the funniest things they'd ever heard. You know, like your frame of reference when you're 5, you know. You know, we do the corniest joke in the world or the oldest slapstick gags and get away with murder because these little kids were like, this is genius. And I made up my mind when I got the part I made a list of all the funniest character actors from television that I could remember. Gail Gordon, who played Mr. Mooney on The Lucy Show, Charles Nelson Riley, who was on 1,000 Things, and I stole something from all of them. There was a character in Jack Benny's radio show named Frank T. Nelson, and he would go, Jack Benny'd say, I need a ticket. He'd be at the train station. I need a ticket to Los Angeles. And Frank T. Nelson's voice was, round trip or one way? And then he'd go, one way. Good. So and then his other big move was he'd go, ooh. So I stole all of that from all of those guys, which is why my character's so over the top and everything's always, you know, and, you know, like I thought, I'm not going to play this like a regular adult. I'm going to play it like he's, I interviewed Gene Wilder once and we were talking about all his movies and we got to Willy Wonka. And the guy who made Willy Wonka was a documentarian and he made very few straight out movies. He made Wattstax, in fact, which is a brilliant movie shot here in the 70s in Los Angeles that has the Staple Singers and Rufus Thomas. It's a brilliant, if you ever get a chance to see that one. It's sort of the Black Woodstock. It's the answer to Woodstock. It's all soul acts. In any case, that director, Mel Stewart, made Willy Wonka. And I said to him, what about that part where you come out and, you know, you've seen it, right? When he comes out of the candy shop. Yeah. There's been an hour buildup. We haven't met him yet. You know, we've been building him up. He closed the doors to the factory and no one's seen him since and all that. Right. And he comes out with the stick and the purple coat and the stick gets stuck in the ground. And for an absolute second, he falls like he's going to, you know, and then he does a shoulder roll and jumps up like that and doffs his hat and everybody goes, yeah. So Gene Wilder said to me, that's my idea. He goes, I thought of it and I said it to Mel Stewart. And Mel Stewart said, I don't know. And he goes, let me just try it. So he did it like 15 times till it hurt, right? Because he's on the on the bricks. Then he said to Mel Stewart said to him, will you do it once without the roll? Will you do it once where you just fall? And Gene Wilder goes, I don't want to because you'll use that fucking take and that's not going to be funny. And so he said he did it, but he didn't use the take. And then I said, well, what was the idea? And he goes, so that you'd never know if anything I said after that was going to be true. You'd have no idea where I'm coming from. I'm crazy, right? And it's the almost falling over in front of a bunch of kids and then jumping up. So with True, I felt that's what I wanted to feel like, that I was so fucking crazy on the show that because I made a 15-year-old president, right? Yeah. The vice president. Yeah. Right. I thought, and evidently they agreed with me on that take because no one ever shut me down. I walked differently. I turned in the show. I do the physicalities. Yes. Really. Yeah. I laughed overly loud. I grew my hair really, really long so that it would be Gene Wilder crazy. I mean, not like there's a lot of method to it. The people who made the show are total pros. You know, these guys are experienced producers and writers. But it was right after the writer's strike. And so everybody wasn't working on network anymore. All of a sudden they were on a kids network. So we had Philip Baker Hall, the character actor on our show. We had Andy Richter. We had, what's her name, who's on Modern Family, has a bunch of Emmys, the blonde actress whose name is slipping out of my mind. We had our pick. Yeah, Julie Bowen. Julie Bowen did a show. We had our pick of literally everyone in Hollywood. You could get every comedian. Paul F. Tompkins was on the show. Dave Foley was on the show. Wendy Malick.
Wow.
I mean, it was, the timing of it was hilarious because no one had any work. And Tom Kenny did the show. He's an old buddy of mine who's, SpongeBob SquarePants. Yeah. Tom Kenny's a major voice talent here. So I loved it. I wish it had gone one more season. But I think they were getting ready to write me out anyway because they wanted the show to be all kids and no grown-ups, I think.
That's Nickelodeon.
That was a long, boring story, but that's what you get for asking, I guess.
That's what I get for being young, and that's me being the first. Other than Whose Line Is It Anyway, and me going, that's Mr. Madigan. So. Yeah,
Mr. Madigan.
I'm curious if that's where we're going to find ourselves coming out of this thing, because everybody's out of work right now. The entire environment's going to be different coming back in again. So maybe there's potential for something new and exciting.
Yeah, well, I think one of the good parts is like, here we are again at the dawn of broadcast, except now at least we've got some technology where we can connect a little easier. We don't have to do it on the phone, which would have been how you would have had to do it 30 years ago. We're not even in studios anymore. We're just, at home.
Yeah.
So it's a whole nother bag. And there's a kind of unity to it that I appreciate because for me, this is a gigantic disruption of my life.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I have to sit at home and think about things. Like I say, we were in Pennsylvania this week, the East Coast, Royal Oak, Michigan. Then we were going to Canada for a week. I'm in a group with Ryan Stiles, Joel Murray, and Jeff Davis, and we did 100 dates last year, including Alaska. Early this year, Dave Foley's in our group too, and Drew Carey's in our group, and Chip Eston's in our group. That plane's loud. We went to Nova Scotia with Dave Foley and did a comedy festival up there, which is about as far as you can go. Next stop is Santa's Workshop. And then we did 2 gigs in November with Dave in Alaska, Fairbanks and Anchorage. So last year I played all those places, as well as Tokyo, Glasgow, London, Dublin, Paris. And that was just last year. New York, Edinburgh, so I get around town. It's been, I don't know, several years since I've stayed at home this long. Yeah. I'm usually gone every week from Thursday till Sunday or Thursday till Monday, doing stand-up or whatever it is. I should let you guys go. This is turning into a lengthy, but before I do, I was also in Nightmare Before Christmas, and we've been doing it live as a concert for the last 4 years. Danny Elfman sings Jack Skellington. You're familiar with it?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, of course.
Catherine O'Hara sings Sally. Ken Page sings Oogie Boogie. Ken Page, who originated Old Deuteronomy and Cats. Ken Page is a veteran of Broadway. And me from the movie. And we sing it in front of a live symphony orchestra, and we play the movie. Last year we did it in Tokyo. Yeah. Last year we did it in Tokyo. Then we went to Glasgow and did it at the Rock and Roll Arena there. Oxo, I think it is. And then the Wembley in London, where I saw Steely Dan. And then the O2, what is it called? The 3 Arena in Dublin. And nothing is more fun than that. You're standing in front of a symphony orchestra. John Malcherry is the conductor. John Malcherry was one of Leonard Bernstein's proteges. So when John tells stories, he'll go, "The marvelous thing about Lenny was he had such a wonderful sense of humor." And, and I'm posted up to John. I'm the first singer next to the podium. So John's at the podium. Viola's behind us, right? Viola's behind us. First string's over there. And he'll give the downbeat, And then when it gets to me, he points at me. And where you guys are looking is like, so I'm there. And then he'll sing the songs with me. So I can't miss any cues. The first year I missed too much cues. And then I thought, watch John, because he would sing the songs to me. And sometimes in the middle of the show, he'll go and just wink at me that no one can see because they're all, it's amazing. And that's the thing I'm going to miss most of all. I don't think it's going to materialize this year, and I'm hoping that we can make it happen next year.
Yeah.
And because it's a Halloween Christmas thing, some years we do it at Halloween and some years we do it at Christmas. So we went to Brooklyn for Christmas a couple of years ago. It was great. Last year we did Christmas in Europe, and Japan was May, but I don't think they cared. I think they were just, there's so many people into it in Japan, and Danny loves Japan.
Oh yeah, you could probably do it any time of the year and they're going to be all over it.
Oh my God. And everybody was so well dressed in the audience. And when we do it in Los Angeles, it's all families. And because Hollywood is full of show business people, there's 1 million costumers and set decorators who come to the show, and they've made elaborate outfits. So the crowd is just sensational in Hollywood because, you'll see people in real Sally costumes and real Boogie Boogie, Beetlejuice, every Tim Burton movie, and they have a costume contest before the show. And the first year they had someone else host it, but then they asked me to host it because I'm a comedian and I can handle it. And it's all little kids. And some of them are so little that they're wandering around the stage. I have to grab them and hold them, And some of their costumes are magnificent because their mothers and fathers are costumers. So they'll come and one guy had a film camera for a head. It's just, that part's the best part.
Yeah.
Because they'll say, "How old are you?" And they'll go like 5. And I'll go, "Well, what do you do for a living?" They're like, "I don't know." And then and it's on the big screen, so and they give away candy and everything. So that to me, that one I'll miss a lot because it's a movie that people your age both saw, and then have had kids subsequent to that, and now their kids watch it with them. So it's like really one of the few things that's for all ages that's fun, because I hate that fun for all ages bullshit. When it came out, it wasn't very popular. And it kind of went away. And then I think it came back because, it seemed less gothy as time wore on, or less. It was real edgy for a Disney movie. Let me put it that way. When it came out,
it really was.
There's a lot of dead people in it and people with axes in their heads. So it's pretty. For when it came out, Disney wasn't really making movies like that. Right. They hadn't made nothing like Maleficent or any of that. So it kind of gathered steam over time, and God bless Danny and his team, because they're just as nice as can be. And doing it is really, really fun.
It's like amazing experience all around.
Yeah.
Look on YouTube. Yeah, look on YouTube and look it up. You talk about whiling away the hours. Check out a couple of the numbers on YouTube because it's pretty good.
Well, Greg, thank you very, very much for taking time out of your day to talk to us today.
I know I was most excited about having you on because I know who you were. So
thanks, Chris. Thanks, Aaron.
And take care. Hopefully things will start heading back to normal at some point soon, or we'll just invent our own new normal.
Right. So let me know when you put it up.
Okay, yeah, actually, yeah,
absolutely.
we'll shoot you an email. Probably be a week or so, but yeah, we'll hit you up, let you know.
All right. Thanks, gentlemen.
All right,
Thank
you.
you.
Stay cool.